This is the first time using the live capability that we have here on school. If you have any questions during this live session, just type away. Let me give you a quick rundown of what we're going to do during this session, and we'll just get after it, okay? So we're going to go through a selection of movements from the Qigong and the Tai Chi aspect of the 7-day challenge. So find your stance, and we're going to take 3 breaths into the nose, out through the mouth. These grounding breaths, no real major intention or expectation. Just letting things come into connection and harmony. Let's do some more. Let's just continue this on for a little bit. Begin to notice the rise and fall with the hands, with the body. Paying a little bit more attention to the bottom position and the top position. Breath is in through the nose, out through the nose or mouth. Gaze stays within your space. So notice the hands as they drift to the periphery and as they come back down midline. Good. One more. We're going to take this right into our universal post position. So when we come into post, it's not about doing it correctly or anything like that. It's just about getting a sense of our whole shape after coming from motion into stillness. So just notice the shape of the body, feel the curves of the legs, curves in the arms, and observe the breath as it settles into this posture. In any posture of stillness, we want to look and see where effort builds up. Is it in the feet? Is it in the shoulders? Maybe across the chest? Who knows? We just observe and breathe along with it. And release. Nice big circle. Two more. And adjust your feet, coming into a more natural standing position. And then walk a little circle. Very intentionally. This is like pacing, right? Maybe in your kitchen, waiting for the coffee to be ready. Really feel your feet moving and grabbing and pulling you around. This way we get our information coming from the ground up, and after any standing practice, even if it's just 5 minutes like that, you're gonna have a lot more information coming from the bottom up. So let's return to our position and go through some of our loosening drills, starting from the ground up. Rocking the ankles, reaching through the toes, grounding through the heels. Posture, finds the horizon. This means that you can just look out, and if you're on an open plain, you'd see the horizon, maybe on a boat, right? You glance down, ground. Glance up, sky. But it shouldn't take a head motion to find any of those places. So that's what we mean by awareness finds the horizon. Let the awareness of the feet just grow as you kind of get through, 30 seconds, a minute of these movements. We really want this to be a sense of ease as we're doing it. Notice the hands, how they add to this, moving to the back of the body to help provide lift. Good. And relax. Okay. Roll at the ankle. Now, when you're doing this, you can have all your weight on one side, already kind of working that empty full like we do in Tai Chi. You can also put a little bit onto this side so you feel it come up through the hip to make this happen. You're going to feel your feet and your toes grab the ground a little bit. And don't worry if it's all squirrely. It took me more time than I like to admit to get this leg to behave. Other side. But once again, empty, nice and relaxed from the ground up. You shouldn't feel it getting into the hip if it's completely empty and full. Then you get a little bit of weight over it. And now you're going to feel it feeding up a little bit more, and you're going to feel a little bit more of the levering and sort of squishing action down at the ball of the foot. Good. Shake it out a little bit. Now bring the feet a little closer together. Find your tiger's mouth. This is the tiger's mouth here. Sort of like a pincer grip is what we're looking for. We really get into the macro shape of the hand. Now place it on top, and you can take as much weight up this line as you would like. And then just gently curve and straighten. Now when we straighten, we're not locking out. We straighten the curve. We don't give up the curve. We don't just let go of the curve. Feel the direction the knees are going. They should be pointing towards the toes. Good. Come on up. Good. Shake it out a little bit. And some gentle twisting before we go into some arm swings. So here, we want to find the line from the pinky to the elbow and then jump it to your ribs. Cross the ribs, jump it to the pinky. So from here, as we turn, we can bring that whole line with us. And so we feel the turning of the body and the feet gripping the ground, and the head stays on center line. So the hands come in front, hands come in front. You see it changing places. And relax. Shake it out a little bit. Okay, last one, arm swings. So first let's start out by reaching out a little bit. Think of like it's a mummy, right? Really good reach. The more you can feel this gentle reach out from the fingers, where's it reaching from, right? The anchor points of the shoulder. Settle into your stance. This is that little bit of a horse stance where we're sitting but not sitting. And then release the reach. But you keep that sense of extension. Where is the end points and where are the anchor points? And this sort of a flat flapjack of a palm creates more wind resistance. So you really feel it, and you also have to clear your hips a little bit more, gets you into your armpits. So from the side, and every once in a while, freeze the mummy and drop it down. Like 10 to 15 more seconds. What we're looking for with the time, with these loosening drills, is really a few rounds of the breath moving through. Because it's the breath that we're learning to use to open up the shape, stabilize the shape, relax the shape. So as you get used to the movement, just let the breath flow through naturally, and then you're good. And relax. Okay, let's get into some of our Rooted Alchemy 7-day challenge Qigong movements. Right back to where we began, grounding circles. Maybe these feel a little bit different after doing those loosening drills. It's nice to have comparison and contrast points within the practice. One more. Coming back to universal post. Notice the fingers. Okay, got this sort of lined up energy. I'm going to progress right into open and close. Inhale. And in your own time, exhale and return. Reach the fingers in towards the sternum. Remember, with all Qigong movements, you're finding the rhythm with your breath. So it doesn't have to stay on my pace. This is hugging, embracing energy, and then gently reaching towards the sternum, opening. One more. And relax. Grounding breath. Lifting up the sky. A little scoop, drawing up, opening. Feel the hands scooping, the palms lifting, rolling over, pressing up. As you lower, try to create a lap. So a lap is, there's a little something in front of you to scoop. A hinge, too much of a hinge as we drop, puts us out like so, right? So as we lower, try to sit the hips back and down a little bit so we have a sense of a lap that we can scoop up and out. We're going to do 2 more. And coming to a rest at the bottom. Now this is monkey holds the cauldron. So it's like we're pulling into our belly. You can imagine holding a big pot. Now, if we were holding the pot and you're thinking from the side, I wouldn't just be holding it underneath, I'm holding the sides and I'm pulling it into my body. So I'm using this back into that space. This way we're eliciting more engagement, more communication between our center and what's happening out here. And we all have had an experience of holding a big pot probably. Now, we're going to take that, pull it very close to the belly. Now this is gathering. Turn. And then back to center. When we turn, think, look, listen. And then gather back. The breath just flows in through the nose, out through the nose or mouth. It doesn't have to be lined up exactly with this movement because we're not really doing a rise or fall in the body. Don't lose track of the other hand. It stays on its side. So as you turn, it should stay on its side of the body. It doesn't drift over. One more. Good. Now we're still here, sort of that holding the cauldron. We're going to go to filling the Dantian. Now, for now, the Dantian we can say is just referring to this general area of the body in a more centrally located manner, right? Very centrally located internally. So we're going to scoop towards that space. Here's like where your belly button is. Scoop towards that space and then release down towards your heels and follow it like you're sitting. And you can scoop to your knees or just to your quads. And then just drag up, back to the belly, behind, and release. I even have my fingertips reaching down towards my heels. And I maintain contact with the body for quite a bit of this movement. So feel the release at the hands and the arms and follow that with the waist. Good. One more. Excuse me. Good. And grounding breath. Nice. Shake it out a little bit. Walk your space again. Really feel the movement from the ground up. Small steps. I always think Charlie Chaplin, if you know that reference. Okay. Now, these movements that we just did come from the 7-Day Challenge, but we're also drawing from our Elemental Qigong series. Elemental is, in this context, just means really simple and fundamental. They're elemental, right? We're really simple movements, rise and fall in the body, feeling how what the arms are doing on the outside are working with how we're creating the breath and the structure on the inside. So it's a Qigong that you can do it any time of day. I mean, really most Qigongs are like that. There's not many Qigongs that you would say only do this at this time. It's more just understanding the flavor of each one. This is the way my teacher described it. It's like going to get ice cream. It's all ice cream, but there's chocolate and vanilla and pineapple sorbet and all this kind of fun stuff, right? So each move is just a little different flavor of what we're doing. And our one move that we're focusing on this first month is the crane, because these crane sort of movements are found in Tai Chi, in Qigong, in almost every Chinese art. There's this concept of a crane opening its wings, cooling its wings. So the move that we have in Qigong is crane cools wings. And this comes from a different Qigong set, the Mountain Qigong, which is a famous mountain in China. So let's go ahead and do the crane together. And then we're going to work on the crane movements that we find in Tai Chi as well. So we open our stance for the crane. Sometimes we can do it toes forward. Sometimes we can do it toes out. It's important to remember that training on flat grounds like this is a luxury that we're doing today. In the past, people would be on the beach, on ground, on gravel, on dirt, on grass. And so how you move your feet is going to be changing almost with every up and down, with every step. And so how we line up our feet is a reference point for how we're engaging up the rest of the body. And so we can adjust this as time goes on. So we're out, feel a slight open bias to external rotation in the legs. This is what we're doing when we open out. We create this bias to external rotation. We can kind of find our outside line a little bit easier. And so as we lower and raise, I can feel this lifting and lowering the movement more than I feel this moving away and forward, penduluming. Is that a word? Penduluming? The movement, hinging the movement. We want to feel the movement lifted, not pendulumed. Okay? So biasing out to this external rotation is what's going to do that. And this really helps you unlock what more is happening above the hips by being more aware of why we are creating this frame. So from here and just a little down, just that far, all that's necessary. So crane cools wings. Inhale. Exhale. Arms come in to the height of the solar plexus and lower with the body. Rise up and open. Now the angle at which the arms are opening is completely up to you. So try maybe opening up really high a few times. See how that feels. Maybe a little lower. It's up to you. Now, if you'd like, we're going to change very slightly how we fill the body with the breath. Fill most of it at the bottom, and then rise. Empty most of it at the top, and then lower. And just do that a few times. And one more. Good. And step it back in, grounding breath. Good. Shake it out a little bit and walk your circle again. Nice. Crane closed wings, one of those moves that always surprises me about how much heat it generates in the body. We create a lot of our heat from our ribs. This is where we create heat, we disperse heat. Why we call it crane cools wings, right? If you're releasing that heat, you feel the heat being built up. You maybe start to sweat a little bit, which is totally fine in Qigong. That's how we cool down, right? That's how the body starts to manage its internal temperature. So that's how when the crane's hot, opens its wings, airs it out. So let's look a little bit of how this relates to our Tai Chi movement. And then we'll be able to connect these two practices. So let's return in, grounding breath, to holding the cauldron. And let's pull it all the way in to center. And let's do a little bit of body circles from the Tai Chi part of the 7-day challenge. Now, when we're doing body circles, we're finding left and right, up and down, while staying oriented on our 4 directions in center. So it's a simple concept, but it takes observation. Try to feel the shoulders connecting to the hips. And keep a sense of the curves in the legs. To do this, imagine you're drawing your kneecaps, not really your kneecaps, more just the curve of the knee up towards the hips. Even when you're lowering. Good. All right, now find full, empty. And I'm going to change perspective so you can get a sense of this. Now, crane cools wings is our Qigong movement, opening and closing, right? Think about it from the back. Your back opens and closes. Now, we don't want to be, like I said, penduluming. We want to feel the muscles of the curves and the bow in the arm opening and closing. For crane spreads wings in Tai Chi, we're doing the same thing. We're opening, but we're doing it in a diagonal across the body. One opens up and out, and the other opens down and out. But this big open and close that's there in crane cools wings is still there in a more subtle way, in a more Tai Chi way, in crane spreads wings. I'll just use the Chinese, it's easier. Okay, so let's work on this move. We start here. Find the full leg. The empty side, that arm reaches over to the full hip. The full side reaches up to the empty side shoulder. Okay, so from this side, you can see, here's my full side, and this empty side arm folds over towards this side. This full side arm folds over. And so you can see one long curve, there's still a gentle curve, one short curve. So from behind, now as I shift, I open across the diagonal while I shift and change empty full. Then this arm, which is now the empty side, folds over. And this one folds over and down. And I can shift across. Now, imagine you had a towel in your hand and you were pulling that towel across. Maybe snapping it because maybe you just got a shower. Okay? And then back down, pull across. Feel it in the hands. Back down, pull across. Try to perceive a little curve in the arms. The hand is in front of you. You can see it. You just look over there. There it is. So it's not over here. The same thing with this one. It's in front of you. It's not way over here. And there's a little curve. We relax down, open. Relax down, open. Relax down, open. Think about you're in the kitchen. I love analogies. You're in the kitchen and you're cooking and you go, let me grab something over here, right? And let me grab something over here. Very natural, organic movements. What we want to make sure doesn't happen is we go like this and we keep going. Okay? Right? That's how we lose balance. So when we're creating this sense of empty full without doing anything in the arms that would muck it up, can we keep that? As we add something in the arms and maintain that same sense of structure and movement, I mess it up, as we go through. That's the real long-term study? How do we get more versatility up here without mucking up all this really fun structure and stability that we're building in other areas of our practice? So let's go through some crane closed wings together a few more times, and we'll see where that gets us for today. So here's opening to one side, check, in front. There's a diagonal between. Relax back down. Shift, open. Relax back down. Shift, open. Closing, opening. Let me switch back with you guys. Closing, opening. Okay, let's do one little fun thing, and that's going to be probably pretty good for our practice today. The hands. A lot of people in class, my in-person classes recently have been asking me about hand stuff, how to use the shape of the hand, how to work with the hand a little bit more clearly in these arts. And this is, I find, to be really important these days because we do so much with our hands that's new and different. Computers, phones, writing all the time. So we're very fine motor based in our hands, whereas we want to be a little bit more macro, a little more gross motor based with our hands without losing that same sort of fine motor intention with what we're doing. And so, I don't know if there's any Star Trek fans, but do we know this one? Live long and prosper? Got it? This is also how you make an eagle claw in Kung Fu, by the way. You create 3 parts and little curves. So, but even if you don't know live long and prosper, just make this shape. These 2 fingers together, these 2 fingers together, those 2, those 2. Now, it's not that this is a special shape, it's just that this is something we can easily do in our hands and feel, like you had mittens on. Keep this shape and do this move again. And try not to lose the shape. It might make it harder. It might make it, well, it should just make it different, a little weirder, okay? Now relax it, shake it out. Don't worry about that now. And just do it again and feel your hands. Notice if you can get a sense of open and close in the hands a little bit. Feel the fingers and palms spread with the arms. Relax with the arms. Good, and one more. And grounding breaths. And finishing with just a few moments of stillness, coming into fingers resting on top of one another, thumbs just gently touching. And you pull it into your belly just so that your awareness can just drop down more into your center. Good. Nice big breath together. Shake it out a little bit. All right, let's just close before we get any Q&A with just a quick little body shaking. So just bounce up and down a little bit, real gentle. Focus on it being light and bouncy and elastic, not clangy and bangy. Try to focus on just vertical energy. Let the breath just relax and flow through. And now we're going to slowly come to a stop. Just imagine you're bouncing a ball and you just Stop bouncing it. For one last time, bring the arms back up to post. And just observe. Maybe it feels lighter. Maybe certain parts feel heavier, and that might be a good thing. Heavy, strong legs rooting us to the ground, right? A light, lifting upper body. And relax. All right, nice job. Shake it out, be random if you need to be random. Fidget as much as you want. Thanks for practicing. I know it's practicing online like this, reaching our own space, but being able to share this practice together really does connect us in these arts. And so it's really fun to share this. So we're gonna have about 10 minutes right now, I think, for some Q&A.
I often feel tightness in my shoulders, and I'm looking for ways to soften that and stay loose.
Really good question. The shoulders is one of the places where you're going to start to feel this build up. And this is okay. This is a good thing because we're learning how to really perceive how our body is interacting with gravity. And this is the thing. How can we, over time, take what we're feeling as tension, turn it into strength where it needs to be strength, turn it into relaxation where it needs to be relaxation. So, few things. One is we always move beyond a joint. So if you're feeling tension at the shoulders, we want to move to another joint that's supporting that. So from here, we can look down to our hips. So if you're starting to feel, oh man, it's really building up in my shoulders, maybe do something down here. Change the angle of your hips. That is going to change the communication up the body. And you might find that you get more ribs, more waist, more of expansion happening underneath the shoulders, which is what we're looking for. We're looking for, if we were going to raise the Titanic, which I think somebody tried to do, right? You're going to stuff balloons in it, blow it up, and it's going to rise up. But as soon as those balloons start blowing up, you're going to feel the structure of the things that are around it. And so that's why we get so much great information from our Qigong practice when we put our breath involved. So first thing, tension in the shoulders. I'm sure everybody's experiencing this. So this is a great question. Find underneath. Can you make a little bit more space underneath? You might find that that's all you need, and that creates a release point. Also, what's the joint above this? Your head and your neck. So find maybe the angle of your head and neck. And they might be related. You might be changing your hips, and now your head's on a different position with the horizon. We want to use our whole system to address the issues that we find. And we're going to find by doing that, you have a lot more options than you think. Also, when we go above the head, pay particular attention to the hands, okay? As we lift the hands, you should feel like, oh, they're lifting. I'm lifting something. And this is going to change a little bit of how you orient your upward bow. There's going to be more integrity to that shape over time if you're feeling the hands. It's not about making it look exact. If you're feeling the hands lifting, your body is putting the information through the shape it needs to build that over time. And what that's going to do is it's going to improve the communication here, okay? And so that the more you do it, the more it's going to be communicating. And pretty soon that tension will be turning into strength where it needs to be strength and relaxation where it needs to be relaxation. So I hope that it might not give you an exact answer, but hopefully that gives you a sense of that there is an embedded method in there to address this issue. And actually the fact that your awareness is there right away is a good thing, because it means you're right there feeling that potential strength and relaxation all at the same time.
Which feels great in the start of my day, but in the evening, try to practice the same way, or just a little bit.
Really good question. Using your Qigong at different times of day, it's going to feel different, right? We're occupying different space at different times of day. And so there's a saying that I work off of, and this is actually shared by Qigong, Tai Chi, and Kung Fu. Zao lian yao, wan lian tui. It means in the morning, train your waist. In the evening, train your legs. So how do we interpret this? Because it is an interpretation, right? This is not an instruction manual. It's how do you interpret these classical principles and sayings. In the morning, we've been reclining all night. We want to stand. We get up in the morning. We're doing our qigong. We want that to get down into our waist. We don't want it just to skip and go down in the floor, right? So by focusing our energy into our waist with like the sequence that we have right now, the elemental qigong, that first half, that is putting a lot of energy into our center. Okay, then that's the energy that we take out in the rest of the day, right? That's what we spread out into our arms, into our legs. Everything comes out from center, from a Qigong perspective and a Tai Chi perspective. Then in the evening, they say, Wan Lian Tui. Well, what if you didn't spend out all your energy? What if you get to the end of the day and your battery is still like at 70%? Okay, well then where do we want that energy to go? We want it to get in the legs, okay? So Wan Lian Tui. So the latter half of that 7-day challenge where we're doing the fountain and the crane, where we're getting much, much bigger movements, these you can feel them get into legs. And then maybe a big portion of that heat that's coming into the body too in the morning practice. Because like I said, when we practice in the morning, we want it coming into our center, not going straight into the ground. And I know it's a little bit conceptual, but the more you're in the practice, the more the language that we use within the practice there'll be a logic there that you'll be able to connect with. And so if you're noticing this, and it's great that you are, because now you're getting more within the nuances of your own practice, okay? So this is how you can start to adapt it for your own practice. In the morning, focus maybe a little bit more on that first half, if it feels good. In the evening, focus more on the second half of that Qigong practice. Use that as a baseline starting point, not as like a rule, right? Meaning this is kind of what's passed on. Zao lian yao, wan lian tui. You're not sure what to do in the morning exactly. You're not sure what to do in the evening exactly. Start here. Start at zao lian yao, wan lian tui. And then notice, is this sort of like having a positive effect on the system? Because the idea is if you are at the end of the night and you got a little extra energy, you train your legs, that's just going to turn into strength, right? You're going to wake up the next day and you're going to, you know, what's going on? I got new legs, right? And then that's going to feed into your belly in the morning, give you more energy, and then at night, and so on and so forth. So that's why those transition periods are sometimes really fun to practice in. It's not always important to have like an hour-long practice every day for Qigong. 20 minutes in the morning, a little bit at night. It adds up and it allows you to have a little more agency and nuance with how you're working within your practice. Well, thanks everybody. I think that's probably good for this first session. It was great. I had a lot of fun. We'll be posting the next live session, which I think will be next week sometime. We'll get that out for you. This will be recorded and put into the library. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Enjoy the rest of your day.